Well, folks, welcome back to Rimshots with Sean. We have Mr. Mick Brown. You guys are in wonderful Phoenix. What's the temperature today, by the way, in this
It's
lovely?
95, 96 degrees today. And Memorial Day weekend in America means barbecue, pool, friends, huge amount of alcohol, animals in the pool. I mean, just, nothing but fun, you know? So when we're done here, I'm going to listen, my shirt's coming off, jump in that pool, and start that day going.
I'm envious. So just before the last segment there, we stopped. You had a story you were going to tell. So
Oh,
let's start with that.
my friend Bobby, he goes, listen, because when I sitting around and we're drinking by the pool with our friends, these funny stories come up, and my friends seem to be interested enough to listen. So I tell them these stories, and one of them, the one I can tell, it's the funniest thing that I think ever happened to me in my entire life. It's right out of a Jerry Lewis movie, and somebody should recreate it, and maybe I will. And here's what happened. I can't even really get through it myself. Dokken was on tour opening. We were a new band opening for Dio for a long. We call legs. Legs are 3 months, 3 months, 3 months. And then you have 2 days off, and then you do another 3 months. So we'd been doing this for. I think this was the 9 month break, and we still had another leg or two to do. And we were really getting, I had discovered that this playing in a rock band thing isn't about playing the drums. It's about traveling, So the tour manager comes up to the band and he goes, okay, listen, we're getting ready to have a 10-day break, which was like, what, 10 days? Well, thank you, God. And so he goes, okay, the last two shows are Alaska and Hawaii. And he goes, so who wants to stay in Hawaii for extra days before you fly to wherever you want to go on your 10-day break? Everybody raised their hand. Okay, great. So we played the Alaska show. Alaska's a strange place. Hard people there. Different vibe. I'm not going to say it's bad. Just very, very different. And it was freezing cold because it's Alaska. So we finished the Alaska show, get on an airplane, fly down the next day for a day off in Hawaii before the next show. And everyone's just, I was tattered, man. It had taken its toll on all of us, And so we get there. I come stumbling into the lobby. The tour manager hands me my hotel room key. Hey, enjoy your day off. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Okay, great. So we're on the Big Island, I think, and I'm in the Ilokai, or next door to it, where they filmed Hawaii Five-0 back in those days. And I get, I'm in the elevator and I look at my key, 24th floor. Well, this building went up to 40 floors or something. So I get up to my room, I open up the door, and I go, wow, it's a really, really nice suite. It had a formal dressed dining table. Dressed meaning it had the salad bowl, the soup bowl, the salad plate, the entree plate, the water glass, the wine glass, a candelabra, the entree plate, a cup and saucer with coffee. It was completely decked out. That's the first thing I see when I walk in. I'm like, wow, this is good enough for Jehovah, or the Queen, So I walk in, I look around the room. I'm like, just go, put the bags down anywhere. I'm beat. And it's a lovely 75, 76 degrees. And I pull back this big curtain, open up this gigantic sliding door that exits to this beautiful balcony. I can hear and see the waves crashing on the beach. The hotel's next to us. I'm just like, and it's just wafting in. It was mother's milk. Okay. You following me?
So far.
So, here we go. So I thought, oh, this is just heavenly. So I left the door open. The breeze is coming in, the sea breeze. I could hear the waves. I'm like, oh. And I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to go into the mini bar over here, crack open a beer. And I had these there was 3 big wicker baskets full of every kind of expensive snack you could imagine, because you know how it is in a hotel. Sausages, beef jerky, every Snickers bar, M&Ms, cheeses, just everything, macadamia nuts. So I thought I'll open a can of macadamia nuts, pop a few in, drink this beer, stand on the balcony and look around. And I did that. And I thought, okay, I'm going to pass out, nap time. I was just done. This is so inviting. So I get on the bed, out like a light. I guess several hours later, I'm hearing a lot of rustling noises and seagull noises and things. And it kind of woke me. And I'm telling you, I looked up and my room was completely full of 2.5 feet tall seagulls walking. I mean, you couldn't see the floor. It looked like a rock concert, okay? And I'm just looking, and they're taking turns at that, you know, dun, 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 beef jerky, dun, 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 Snickers, dun, 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 macadamia. And they're into all this stuff and ripping the bags open and taking turns jumping off these counters and things. I'm like, holy cow. So I made the mistake of saying, hey. And when I did that, it frightened them, and they all looked at me, and they all tried to get out of the room at once. Now, listen, these birds have huge wingspans, and they can't fly in your room. So here's 25 birds trying to get out of the room. And all hell broke loose. Everything that wasn't bolted down started falling over, and these birds were panicking. And I was like, oh my God. So I just pulled the duvet over my head, like, because they were literally bumping off the walls, bumping off of me. They broke everything that you could break in the room. You know, the table with the round glass with the lamp that goes through, that fell over, that broke. The phone came off. The phone back then came off. The top of that came off. The pictures on the wall, a couple of pictures came down. And everything on this formal dining room table, all the water glasses broke. I mean, they had knocked over everything that you could possibly imagine. And it took about 40 seconds of just complete destruction, mayhem. And I was just horrified, but laughing at the same time. I thought, this is unusual, you know. So I sat there and waited for it to kind of calm down. And I pulled the sheets, the bed sheet back over my head. And I looked, all I saw was feathers floating, bird poop everywhere, broken glass everywhere in the room, everywhere. And a bird still trying to make their way out. And, you know, I'm like, oh my God. So I get up and I'm like, oh God, I got to get the last of these birds out of here. I was kind of foggy. So I'm watching out for all the broken glass. I think I put my shoes on just to make sure I didn't cut my feet. And I'm scooting these birds out and they're all squawking at me like they're pissed off, you know. And as I'm getting them out of the room, they're all lined up on this railing of this balcony, just like sitting there looking at me like, now what are you going to do? And so I was trying to go away. And they'd come back and fly about 10 feet away and then come back to the railing. So, I mean, the place was destroyed. I mean, I looked around and went, I don't think I could have done it better myself. And I've wrecked a few hotel rooms, my friend. So I went, this is phenomenal. And then I kept hearing, they had gotten all the food. And I go, oh God, I'm going to have to tell the front desk, you know, I don't know if I'm going to get charged for this. I need a new room. And I know I'm going to get charged for all the shit that the birds ate. And I kept hearing some rustling in the bathroom. So I went into the bathroom. The shower curtain was one of those, you know, pull off shower curtains. Well, it had fell down and two birds were in the bathtub stuck under the shower curtain. Well, I lifted it up. One bird came popping out and he was kind of angry. And I scooted him out the door, slid the door up, pushed him out while the other birds laughed at me. And then there was still one in there and it was kind of wrapped up in it. I thought, well, I'm going to have to help him get out. You know? So I did. I went in and kind of got this thing where I could point him out and got the last bird out. So as I got the last bird out, I slid the door closed, this big sliding glass door. And then I saw like a cartoon picture of a seagull with a little hamburger mask on, you know, and it said, not responsible for loss or, you know, I thought, oh, so this has happened before. And then I looked around the room, I thought, oh my God, what this is. It was so funny. I go, I didn't do that. You know, normally that's what I would do, but the birds did it. And so I'm still so damn tired. I said, I can't deal with this now. I'm going to go back to my nap and get up later and change rooms or whatever I got to do. I go back to the nap. 7:30, 8 o'clock, ring. Hello, it's Jeff Pilson, you know, the bass player from Docker. Hey man, let's go down to the local rock. Let's get something to eat. Let's go down to the local rock club. Play with the band, score some drugs, get some girls, and drink a huge amount of a normal night. So, okay, great. I thought about telling him what had happened. I thought, no, this is too big of a story. So I said, all right, jump in the shower, come over here, knock on my door, and then we'll go leave, and I'll just show up. Here's the punchline. And yes, I open up the door, and the first thing he sees is this just massive destruction of broken shit everywhere. And it looked like one of our docking parties, a party in my room every night. And he goes, hey, you had a party and you didn't invite me? And I said, listen, I'll tell you on the way downstairs. And, I told him the story, and oh God, and listen to me, it was the funniest thing I've ever experienced. These birds were just, it was like having 23 flying dogs in your room, that were just destroying everything.
And did you get another room?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I had to. There was too much broken glass, and I'm sure they probably charged me for it, but I didn't, pay any attention. I just thought I was lucky to get out alive. But there was bird poop, feathers, broken, just everything, man. It was really something. Anyway, that's the story I can tell.
As opposed to a bunch that you can't, right?
To me, I'm telling you, it's still the funniest moment of my life, especially when Jeff came in. Oh man, it didn't occur to him that birds could have done it. Oh, he just thought I had a party and didn't invite him.
It's always bass players that feel left out. I don't know why that is. It doesn't matter what
he was always involved, but he just couldn't believe it either. Man, it was like, I can't freaking. Oh my God, that's so.
And you mentioned Dio. That would have been just an amazing tour. Of all the tours and all the times that you were out, was there one tour, maybe it's that one that stands out in your mind as the one where you went, man, if I could just kind of get this moment in time and kind of keep it in my head?
Well, I did keep it in the moment. I don't remember anyone standing out more than anything else. They just kept, it just kept surprising me that, we toured with Aerosmith and Judas Priest and Kiss and Loverboy and blah, 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 and so and Van Halen. And every time, I just kept pinching myself, going, Steven Tyler was just riding around on my back a minute ago, right? Yeah, go take me over to those girls. Okay, great. And I never in my life thought I was going to be friends with Steven Tyler. And he took to me like, bread and butter. And we had the best. That was a lot of fun. But all the bands, every time, I always enjoyed it. I knew that I go, man, you're living a special dream that, I always sucked it in. I always paid attention to what was going on because I knew I was going to have this moment with you where I could tell these stories, just like that story I just told about the Seagulls. And listen, it's so great to have it, kept all that. And the best part is I'm very grateful. I really am. Especially now that I'm outside of it, looking back into it, it's just wonderful. And I sit at home and I'll be like watching. I like to watch a lot of YouTube late at night. And I'll be doing that, and I'll just start cracking up, or something will come up, and I'll go, God, how lucky, you've been to the Eiffel Tower how many times, Mick? And you did this.
Right. It's one of those things where it's stay in school. Don't stay in school. Be a rock drummer, and you might have a good life, right?
I'm so glad I followed whatever was pushing me to do that. It was something I knew at 8 years old, or I knew there's a lot of musicians my age exactly, or around within 3 or 4 years of my age, that they said the moment that the Ed Sullivan moment on the Beatles changed their life, and it did mine. And my mom and dad remember that. And I remember I bought the Beatles Ed Sullivan performances on a DVD, and I watched it. And when the Beatles bow at the end, they do what we call the Beatle bow. They bowed, and I paused it. And I thought, okay, that's that moment. And I looked over on my wall, and I have 10 gold and platinum records on the wall. I thought, that led to that. And I just broke out in tears, man. And I called my parents and told them that. They go, Mick, we knew the second you saw them on TV that something hit you then. And it did. And man, God bless them. I'm telling you, being a musician, and that whole life I did, it's just absolutely wonderful. But I'm telling you, I don't need. I'm still having this wonderful thing thing about life going on. I want everyone to know that it's. I didn't need being in a band. That was just the icing on the cake. That was like, hey, I hope the Seagulls show up so I can have a story to tell. But today's going to be just as good as all those days.
Well, and I mean, it's interesting that you said that because I mean, if you think about it, and you probably have, maybe you haven't, I don't know, but for every Mick Brown, there's 500 John Smiths that never get to make it, that go through the grind. Maybe
yes,
you know what I mean?
I mean, what were the odds? That's what people, a lot of people would say that, but they could see the drive that they go, no, he's going to go find out at least. And I thought, well, you don't fail if you find out, and I just chased it. And, thanks to George Lynch and moving to Los Angeles when I was very young and staying with it. And we chased it. And we took some chances and that paid off, And God, man, I do exactly like you said. How many hundreds of people didn't get to do that wanted to as much as I did? Thank you, God.
Yeah, no. And I mean, when Dawkins kind of went like this, I mean, you had the opportunity to hang with George for a bit, but then you went back with Don. So, you were always kind of, I guess, I'd say maybe didn't choose sides. You were always good enough on both sides that you could go back to either camp and still kind of earn your keep. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I was confused then because I didn't know where any of it was going, but I just thought, I'm going to have to keep work. This is what I do. And the opportunity, okay, well, the opportunity is to go back with Dawkins without George. Okay, well, who's the guitar player? Blah, blah. Working was good, being in the band. I loved being in a band. I loved creating. I loved doing all that. So just moving forward. And I think a higher power kind of, pushed me along. Don't worry, Mick, you'll be okay. I mean, because I didn't have a plan. I just sort of followed what was available, and luckily that turned out to be pretty damn good.
I don't expect you to name names. I would never do that. But so you mentioned, you're out and you meet Steven Tyler and you go, wow, like I can't believe I'm hanging out with Steven Tyler. And and I've had moments where meeting yourself, I mean, an absolute honor, and you're as advertised. But has there ever been somebody that you met that you went, man, I kind of wish I didn't meet them, and I kind of in my head,
oh, there is, but like you said, I'm not going to drop names.
No,
you know what? That's so heartbreaking, but. I thought, okay, be realistic. Because, in the old days, there was no internet, social media and stuff. So your idea of Pete Townsend was perfect because you formed it in your head and you only saw what you wanted to see from that. And I'm not saying that I met him and it was bad, but there were some ones where you just go, oh, wow,
Yeah.
And I'm so naive and I think everything's always perfect. I mean, I just don't ever see that there's a problem. And when you meet these people that have them, and they look at you, it was heartbreaking at a few points. Yes.
Well, I mean, everybody has a bad day, and sometimes you got to go. Maybe they're just having a bad day.
So that's what I had to deal with. Like, hey, it could have been just a moment, or Mick, you can see how it can wear on you. I mean, I could see how Britney Spears shaved her head and smacked that stupid SUV with a fucking umbrella because it just got too much for the poor girl. Sorry, she snapped,
Absolutely. And, one of the bands that you said you opened for, I won't name the name, but I actually opened for them. And I watched their drummer have an absolute hissy fit over a monitor that he didn't like. And I'm going like, whoa, but he was having a bad day because I saw him again at another time.
Monitors. Listen, I've done that too. And that's your, you don't want to go out in front of people and not have the proper tools. And when your monitor is your lifesaver, sometimes, I mean, you want that to be the perfect thing. And when it's not, you're going to yell at somebody like, fix this. And when the guy is over there that works for the nightclub because he's not good enough to be on the road and he doesn't know how to make it work, you upset, So I've been there too. I've been guilty.
Um, what a lot of people don't realize when bands are on the road, and we mentioned it a little bit in the last segment, but just how regimented it is. I mean, like everybody thinks it's this la-di-da thing, but I mean, your day is literally from the time you get up to the time you go to bed, planned out in increments,
And
right?
so that's what I discovered. I go, oh, the drum part, playing the drums, and that's the smallest part of your day. That's this much. And then the rest is travel, 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 hurry up, travel, wait, hurry up, get in the van, travel, get on the bus, get on the airplane, walk through the airport, snap. My sleeping habits are horrible now. I can't do a long length of sleep because you just learned how to do 2 and 3 hour clips of sleep through the day of traveling. The job was traveling. That's the job. You know, being when you weren't on the road and you're in the studio, that was wonderful because you were in one place and you're creating, and you could go, well, let's take a dinner break and just go over here and do the thing. But when you're on the road with the band, it was just ridiculous how much in 40 years I've traveled. It was just incredible.
Um, you've had the opportunity to work with some great producers, Tom Werman, Michael Wagner. Is there any producer that you work? Because I mean, producers can be drum killers, right? Drummer killers. Like if somebody has like is struggling with the old infamous click track or whatever, and the studio can be pretty humbling. Is there a producer that you preferred or loved to work with, maybe more than anybody else?
Max Norman was real good on the first Lynchmont thing because he got it, and he got it out of us easily. I did a lot of work with Michael Wagner. Michael did the right thing, but actually, it just seemed to happen more naturally with Max Norman. And Tom Werman didn't do a goddamn thing.
Fair enough.
Sorry, Tom. But I mean, he just stood there. He was just always on the phone. He had a tongue sandwich. He always brought one in from the deli, and he'd be on the phone, and we'd be playing. But he had Jeff Workman, who was the engineer. So Jeff was hands on, paying attention. So we finished this song. We'd look back. Tom, is that any good? And he'd be like, "Hello, what? I don't know. Are you guys in tune? Okay, great." And it just didn't seem to pay any attention to us. And I've heard other people say wonderful things about the guy, but he just didn't get his hands on with us at all. And then I also worked with Roy Thomas Baker, who's a brilliant guy in himself. And we didn't like what he was doing with our sound. So I don't know how I got elected, but Jeff and George go, "Listen, you got to tell him." "What?" "I got to tell him what?" "You got to tell him we don't like what he's doing." I go, "I can tell Roy Thomas Baker," the guy who invented Queen, And so I did. And Roy Thomas Baker was a big enough guy to look at me and go, "You don't like what I'm doing with the sound?" I said, "No, the guys are they're not really that pleased with it." He goes, "Okay, I'll step back." And I think Jeff Workman was involved in that as well. And I just couldn't believe that I had to tell him that. But I also couldn't believe how nice he was just to back off and go, "Great, do it your way then."
Absolutely. It's funny you mentioned Max Norman because I interviewed him on the podcast, and it was really cool just to hear him talk about recording those first two Ozzy albums and how he
Yeah.
talked about it was the players in the room that actually the sounds. He just said all I did was I recorded brilliant performances, and it just
Yeah.
his matter of factness was so great to listen to.
It's funny because on the Lynchmont record, I wanted one of those. It's called a vibra slap,
Yeah.
that sound like the one Ozzy did, and that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Max we're trying to do that in the studio, and here's Max behind the glass. I'm hitting this vibra slap, and he's playing it back. I go, no, that's not the right sound. I want that long one, like the Ozzy thing. And Max is scratching his lip, and all of a sudden he looks and goes, "Oh shit, I'm the guy who recorded that." I go, "Well, then make it sound that way." He goes, "I know what to do." So he slowed the tape down or whatever we did to make it up. But it was so funny to see him go, "Oh, wait a minute, I'm the guy who made that sound."
It's incredible.
So I love Max because we had this silly sense of humor. And I think from that point on, we sat there, we just laughed our way through the whole recordings. We had more fun. He came out to Arizona where I live and stayed with me and showed him around. I mean, he just really enjoyed it. We really personally hit it off really well together, and we had more fun. His humor was just amazing. Oh God, we had more fun.
So as a studio performer, you always hear like Tom Werman always talked about Bunny Carlos being like a quick, pro in the studio. Where did you fit in terms of that? Were you a quick guy in the studio? Did you take some
No,
time?
I was very nervous. I think I overthought everything. Uh, we were well rehearsed, but it just I had what they call red light fever. When the recording light was on, I kept thinking about that too much. Nothing ever came very easy for me. I had to really work and struggled a lot. But you know what? I was lucky enough for guys to wait for me to go. He'll get it, give him time, and he'll get it right. And that's how I did it. But yeah, I was never a studio guy. I had to struggle at all of it.
I think that's cool that you're saying that though, because I mean, like you don't often hear that side of it. Like a lot of people just go, oh, they go in the studio and they're perfect and there's nothing to it. It's like one take, everything, and people don't understand like that process. Like I know myself when I was in there, and you do a fill that you think is like, yeah, and then you listen to it and you go, what the hell was I thinking? This
Right.
doesn't fit at all. It
Exactly.
sounds like crap.
Or yeah, and then I'd finish a track and they play. I go, let me play that back for me, so I can hear. And you start picking apart your own stuff. It's really. But I was faster in the first two Dokken records, Breaking the Chains and Tooth and Nail. There was no click track then,
Mm.
so and we sort of played together, and the band played off of my feel, and it seemed more relaxed. After that, this new thing called the click track showed up, and that can really, you really have to work your mind around it, because if you're not really playing with it, you hear it. It disappears if you're playing perfect. But now, I've never been exposed to that, and all of a sudden, someone wants to go, yeah, take everything you've ever done in your life and here, put this a third left leg on walk with three legs now and do it like And it's like, what the hell? So it was very mind-boggling for me.
So, you guys do the first three albums.
Are you a drummer?
I am a drummer.
So you know about the click track thing, right?
What I play with one live. It's I don't use tracks, but I get used to it, and I like the comfort of it. I like the security of it, knowing that hey, if there's a
See,
timing issue, it's not
you
me.
brought it in as a blanket of security. But I did do that with Lynch Mob. George goes, listen, I want because we're going to run some backing vocals, and I want you to play to this click track. George was like making it as hard as he could for me anyway, but I did, and once you get used to it, it's really like you said, it's cool. But you got to pay attention. You're walking the wire when you do that. I'm sorry I interrupted you again.
No, no, it's all good. No, but so what I was about to say was, so you did the first three albums, and you guys go in back for the attack. I mean, like it's like what was there, 15 or 16 songs on that album? Um,
Way too much.
was it any longer to record when you guys did it, or what was the process in that?
The recording process, I don't, you know what? I don't remember that was any difficult or weirder. We just did it. But then our managers wanted us to, it was time for the management to make a move in business and like hire $1 million producer like Bob Rock.
Mm-hmm.
And we said, no, we don't want Bob Rock. And he was like, what? So where we shot ourselves in the foot, we sent it to these guys. I can't even remember who the producers were, but they went to do the mix. And we were happy with the sounds, although there was a lot of things, had we been less strong-headed and listened to our manager, which we should have. I don't know how he let us get away with that. We probably could have been even more popular earlier in our career. We would shoot ourselves in the foot a lot like that. But I don't remember the recording process. At that point, we were traveling so much, and I was so burned out, and the whole band was, and we weren't getting along, the guys so much. We just wanted to do it and get it over with, and we did it and got over it.
So, now that and it was funny because I'm going to say 13, 14 months ago, there was an interview with Don where he mentioned you, and he kind of covered he said, "Oh, as far as I know, I haven't talked to Mick, but he's out and he's not playing it." And but again, he wasn't like he kind of tap dances around George even now, but he talks about you, and he seems very cordial, very jovial. Like it still seems like there's obviously respect there, but that you guys maybe still get along, and if you saw him, it would be cool.
What's your question?
Well, is it?
I don't know. I haven't. I don't think about it anymore. I'm done. Listen, I'm out.
Yep.
I can barely. I have to wrap my head around just me sitting here talking with you because I've told these guys I'm done. I'm done, and they just keep shoving it into me. And I'm not going to say I'm not happy to be here with you today. I am, but I just don't think about it, at all. I'm not a threat to Don as George would be, but that's really weird because they play together all the time now.
Yeah.
It's like what?
So
just makes me laugh, man.
I got a couple of minutes. This is going to run out, but there's one question I have to ask, and again, it's not a salacious question at all. But as Mick Brown, that has now, I guess, been retired for 4 years, do you get or do you understand where your place is in this whole crazy world of music, and what you've done and where people see you? Do you understand that?
No, I do. No one else does. I'm out. Music's over. I'm just enjoying it. I'm not going to play anymore. I don't ever want to hold drumsticks ever again.
Yeah.
I'm done.
I'm talking specifically more.
Everyone else needs to go. Let Mick be Mick. I'm enjoying life now.
I'm talking specifically more of your legacy, because a guy like myself, I mean, I'm not going to lie.
To me, it's just this great dream I had for 40 years and 50 years of playing drums. And I just look back on it now and have fun. But I'm done. I'm over it.
That's cool. But I mean, as a guy who the first Dokken record I heard was Tooth and Nail. My guitar player, Peter Dolmont, my parents went away to a hockey tournament. He brings the record over. I hear, the guitar thing, and then all of a sudden, and in we go. And I'm like, okay, this is interesting. And then there's this little double kick thing before and I'm like, what the hell is that? Honest to God, man, it's the first time that I heard double kick like that, and I'm going like, what the heck's going on? So when I say, are you aware of your legacy? So for a guy like me who grew up basically stealing a lot of your licks, do you understand what you mean to people in that genre?
I did understand it. Okay, I'll break it down. The song "Paris is Burning."
Yep.
My dad had a book, a novel that was called "Is Paris Burning?" and it was about the World War II and some Nazi thing or something. And I thought that was an interesting title. And so George and I were bored with the 70s music. Everybody was like Gene Simmons says, looking down at their shoes, playing the same song, Season of the Witch or whatever. Like, shut the fuck up. So when George and I wanted to be more aggressive. Yep. So we had that. That was cool. And then we had this floating melody on the top, Paris is Burning. And when we wrote that song, we went, oh, we just created, we knew then that we're on to something here. And so when our management told us later that they had, signed us, that Cliff Bernstein said, I heard that song and I went to see you guys play. He goes, that's the song that got you the record, your career. And so we kept that. And then we just took it a little further. Well, if Paris is Burning is good, Tooth and Nail, twice as fast will be even better.
Yeah.
And we did. But we knew we were creating this new sound. Still trying to keep the song formula of that, melodies and things, but more aggressive music. And that worked that inspired a lot of bands through the 80s. So I'm aware of that legacy. I mean, that's something that I can say, hey, part of that,
Well, I'm just glad you do, and I'm glad you're aware, because, like I say, a lot of those records got me through high school and got me through, playing the crappy clubs, and got me through, crummy winters in Canada, traveling around playing bars, and so for me to be able to sit here and say, hey man, thanks a lot for allowing me to steal an awful lot of your work is amazing.
I just can't. Listen, I enjoy compliments, but what do? It's like when they sing "Happy Birthday" to you. Where do you look? It's the longest song in the world when they're singing it to. You know what I'm saying? But it's been a total enjoyment to do that. Another quick funny story that I want to add.
Yeah.
Because I'm not probably going to do this crap ever again, but you never know. I sent you a photo of the first Electra photo of Dokken.
Yep.
Now, in this photo, and I'd love to see this final with the edit. I'm wearing a tiger print vest. My mom made me. My mother, happy birthday today, Mom.
God love her.
She made me this vest, and it was really cool. I went, "Oh, Mom, I really dig it, man. It's a great looking print." So George and I were always into like change. Let's modify our equipment, out of boredom. And so on the back of this vest, I looked at it as a big circle, and I told this friend who paints, I said, "Can you do this on my bass drum heads?" He goes, "Yeah, I certainly can." So he did, and it just looked cooler than shit. And I was like, "Oh my god!" And so George loved it too. And I go, "You should do, George, if you can sacrifice one of your guitars, do it on the guitar, and maybe we can do it on bass. Have this little theme going on." Oh, great idea. So that became what they call the Tiger or Tiger Stripe guitar of George Lynch's. And then we started getting popular. And so ESP Guitars took that, ran with that, because they were all into this paint job thing. Like, look what they did with Eddie Van Halen's Stripe guitar. All of a sudden, they were mass produced. Well, they were mass producing all these, different versions of George guitar. So I told my mom that the other day. I said, Mom, you're responsible for every guitar player who's got an animal print from the 80s. She goes, I am? Am I famous? I go, well, okay, now you're going to be, because I'm going to.
You are now for sure. That's amazing. That's amazing.
It is amazing. I said, Mom, you are just from that vest you made me.
You talking about Mom?
Oh, Jesus Christ. I got the mom.
Yeah.
Bobby Sisk, everybody.
Hi.
Hey, Bobby.
Hi. I got Steve on the phone calling about your mom's birthday. Here you go.
Well, I'm in the middle of
I know.
Hi, Steve. Listen, I'm in the middle of a podcast right now.
Say hi to Steve.
I had to do it. Come on, buddy.
Yeah, listen, as soon as I'm done here, I'll call you. And okay.
Well, look, we're just about out of time, sir. You got to get to that phone call. You got to get the Memorial Day. It's been a pleasure. Thanks so much for doing this.
Get to the kitchen to make a drink and get in the swimming pool with the dogs.
And I told Bobby I'm going to find a way to get out there. I got to get out there, man. Hang out with you guys.
It's just Arizona's been a wonderful place for me. I've been here 35, 36 years now, and I just adore it. I adore it.
Well, you go have fun, sir, and it's been an absolute pleasure.
I've enjoyed every second of meeting you and letting me tell these funny stories, and I'm glad I got this off my chest. Bobby said, "Listen, it's time for you to talk."
I'm glad you have too. Enjoy Memorial Day.
Everybody out there, happy day to you, and thank you for everything. I love you all.
Peace.